Welcome back to the channel, and let's talk about knife history a little bit today. So the reason why I'm doing this video is that recently I've seen quite a few videos on YouTube and other platforms talking about Finka NKVD, and especially if it's coming from Russia. There's a lot of ads right now, a lot of promotions. Oh, buy this knife, it is so good, so universal, and such a good construction, cuts everything, cuts nail, coins, metal pipes, everything, and still stays sharp. So what it is, first of all, what it is a Finka. What is Finka NKVD? Is it really a good knife, amazing knife, or it's some sort of scam? So let's talk about it today. As you can see in my collection, I have two. This one is specifically called Finka NKVD by design, and you see some of those elements here, like this logo on the back and on the blade. This one is also Finka, but it's not called Finka NKVD, called differently. Has as you can see, very similar design attributes, a little bit different handle, different construction of the handle, different bolster, but we'll talk about those elements and so on. So but before we talk about it, just I'll give you a design, like the big difference between those two. This Finka is definitely a result of that modern hype. This is very recent production. I got it recently as a gift from one of my friends, and I didn't ask him where he got it. He bought it for me, or he got it as a gift. I just want to look at this as a knife reviewer first of all. And this Finka is about 10 years old. I was also given it as a gift from another friend, but it is like a before hype, before modern hype of those Finkas type of production. And we'll compare those two from a quality point of view after I kind of describe you the history, like what Finka is and why. So the story starts pretty much like end of 19th century. Finka means Finnish knife in this context. So of course, Finka is a diminutive word for something Finnish. So for example, Finka can mean like a Finnish woman, a woman from Finland. That's the first actually meaning of that word. But how those knife designs were adopted from Finland into Russia, the word of Finnish knife, knife from Finland, just became shortened, and that became Finka. So after that, pretty much any knife which is long and with this type of blade shape, with the handle, doesn't have to have a guard. Any type of long knife, which is not a kitchen knife, like more like a utility knife, can be called Finka in just between people. Doesn't have to be specifically Finka like those two. So Finnish knife of design, Finnish design of a knife is very similar to those Scandinavian knives. I don't have Finnish puka in my collection, but if you look up it anywhere, you'll see that it's again very similar style of a knife. Has a barrel-shaped handle, usually long and relatively narrow utility style of the blade with some sort of drop point. Doesn't have to be Scandi grind like those ones. Some of them are saber grind, some of them are Scandi grind. But usually Finnish knives, they have this down curve at the end of the handle with a little bit of a beak here, kind of like looking very similar to this one. So this is how this knife was adopted into Russia, because it is relatively simple construction. Or you need to have just a good tail of a knife. It doesn't have to be full tang. Kind of screw it over here. Those barrel shaped of the handles, they actually quite good for your hands. They feel in the hand quite well, and they allow you to have a very good positive grip of a knife. For example, this is a small one for utility tasks, and if you make it a little bit longer. It also will be good for stabbing. So basically the original design of those Finka knives, it came from Scandinavian region, specifically from Finland bordering Russia at the north. And they started to be produced in Russia not by factories, but usually by the small batches, some people in small workshops, and they got pretty good spread through people, both for utility purposes, hunting purposes, and also for criminal use, because that's what you have for your defense and offense at the same time. So in Russia, that design was also enhanced with usually like a longer blade, comparing to those knives which you've seen. Addition of the fuller. The fuller, as you know, it's not a blood groove. It is to make the blade stronger. Of course, if you have not very good quality control for the materials, for the steel, if you don't have very good hardening process in those small workshops, this fuller will help to enhance the strength of a knife, especially if you stab something and you don't want it to bend or break and so on. The overall idea of how you construct it with the tail inside it and the screw on the rear bolster, that was adopted. Cheaper materials were used, wood, of course, leather if you have them, those leather remains. Here bone was also quite common material because it's just the remains of the animal were used as the handle. And then of course, if it would be some sort of offense type of design for that Finka, the guard was added to protect basically your fingers. And is it a good knife overall from a design point of view? You see, this is a very, very aggressive type of design, and it's not very good for all utility tasks, like compare it to your hunting knife, compare it to your any type of utility knife. It's very narrow blade. You can't do anything on the cutting board with those blades. They just good for stabbing. If you want to cut food, you have to pull it always, like every cut you have to pull it. It is good design if you want to, like for example, pierce open the I don't know, can of food, like a metal can. Yeah, it is very good if you want to, if your blade is strong enough, you can pry something with that. But overall, it is a very, very aggressive design, mostly appreciated by criminals. And then later on, this design was also appreciated by militaries. Therefore, starting from like in the middle of 30s, Russian government, Soviet government at that time, they took this design and started to make them at the specific factories. They started to make them in batches and being issued to some of the militaries, some of the special forces, or some of the internal police. So NKVD is, if you kind of translate it specifically from Russian, that would be some sort of internal affairs committee or military police, that they would have similar functions, including like they would do anything internally, including economical crimes, counter spying, and so on. Back in the days, of course, then it was reformed, but that word in NKVD got stuck, and it was because they were quite powerful organization. Back in the day, everybody was afraid of them. They were quick to do the judgment, unfortunately. So that word, Finka NKVD, got stuck between people. Regular word Finka NKVD. So that became more like a legend. Of course, NKVD doesn't exist anymore as an organization, but that legend remained. And then now, in the modern days, this is the hype, which is taking that design, that story, all of that Soviet attributes, they put them in a knife and they sell it. Of course, those are replicas, not original ones. This is a very modern construction, as I said. They've been sold to people. The story kind of continues, and we'll talk about it. I don't know, maybe just do it how it continues. So, similar design was later adopted into the bayonet, as you can see. Also, it's not a drop point, more like a clip point here, as you can see. Some sort of guard, of course, for the bayonet. It is a ring for the barrel. This bayonet specifically does not have any tank inside the handle. It's this bakelite handle to be an isolation from the electricity if you cut the wires with this one, and the rear bolster. So this real metal bolster is isolated from the blade. Here it is not. If you start cutting wires with power on them, you will get electrocuted even here and most likely in here as well. So that's how design was adopted into the bayonet. Of course, it's a different knife itself, designed somewhere after World War II already. But anyway, and if you look at the other military knife designs, you will see a lot of common things. So, for example, that's your Glock knife. How different is that from this one? You will see the same, like a long, narrow blade, which is good for stabbing, can get in between ribs of your enemy and so on. With the by the way, take a look here on the tip. So you see the grind line goes all the way to the tip, right? What it means is that the tip is strong. Here also the grind line kind of goes to the tip. The tip is very strong here. Here it is less kind of aggressive like this, but anyway, let's take a look here. The grind line goes to the tip. Yep, it goes to the tip. It means it's a very strong tip. So those knives are typically good for stabbing. Handle, military designs usually very simple. Again, barrel shape, just a little bit of the addition of the rear thickening, so you have a more positive control of the end of the handle here. But anyway, same design. Good knife for piercing, good knife for stabbing, not very good utility knife overall. So let's talk about those two knives, and let's ask the question: is it truly a legend or is it a hype? So, as I said, this is a very modern knife, probably made this year, and this is a result of the hype. This knife is about 10 years old. It was produced before this modern hype, also with some sort of course, all of those design notes coming back to the original legend about the Finkas. But this is a very good quality knife by itself, because it is done by a good manufacturers, Leto-Ust. It's a good factory in Russia, which traditionally makes steels and so on. It has this 95 He18 steel on the blade. It is regular Russian-made cutlery steel, basically something around 420, 440 steel in general. The other rings here, which make a very good handle, very simple guard here with the jimping. This is some sort of bakelite or micarta bolster, and the pin to hold the tail in there. Decent quality leather sheath. Of course, the it is more like retro style, but in general, this is a decent knife. Is it a good all-purpose knife? As I said, by design, no. I wouldn't, let's say, take it as my primary choice of a knife if I would have to go into the woods, or if I would put it into my bag-out bag. No, it's more like for collection. But anyway, that's a good quality produced knife. It has relatively 2.2. It's relatively strong spine, and this is, by the way, this knife can be thicker. There are Finkas on Russian market which are made even better, thicker spine, better steels from pretty much any type of steel, including imported steel or Russian-made steel, Bulats, Damascus steels. all kinds of good materials here on the handle, some premium materials, very nice bolsters front and rear. You can find them pretty much any style you want, you can find them. And of course the price tag goes relatively high on those knives. On this one it's relatively low, affordable nowadays. But again, do I want it to be as the my primary knife if I want to go to the forest? No, it is less usable. So let's talk about this knife right now. So I actually think that this is a fake knife in general, because the factory which makes them in this style, one of the most famous factories in Russia, Zavyalov factory, it is well known for good quality knives in general. But this knife, the more I look at this, I think it's some sort of Chinese copy. And to prove me to prove myself, basically I look this knife up on Alibaba, Chinese site which sells a lot of affordable stuff, and including some fake stuff. And there's a lot of knives which are made very similar to this one, very similarly looking. They are for sale there, starting from somewhere, I think somewhere under $20. You can find this knife, or knife which looks very similar to this one. This specific one doesn't have a plastic handle, has kind of like a pack of wood handle, or maybe just painted wood. Has bolster with all of these brass elements and guard with brass elements. But in general, when I look at the steel itself, take a look how thin it is. It is 1.9, 1.8 millimeters. Okay, 1.9, whatever. No, 1.8. It's a very thin steel. And even if they say here it's 110 Ha18 steel, which is supposed to be a little bit better than 95, I just don't believe it. All of those markings they made pretty poorly. I have to use the magnifying glass to read them. They are not that good. And the blade itself, you see how I just don't need to apply a lot of pressure, it just bends. I mean, I have kitchen knives which are thinner but stronger. I can't bend them that easy. This one bends so easy. I just don't believe that it's a really good quality hardened steel like this. And the sheath, again, it mimics the original sheath which was issued with this kind of knife, but again, the quality is so bad. And of course the placement of all of those attributes here, this one is not in the middle of the handle, it's more like an up here. Again, pretty bad quality of the laser etching here. So unnecessary mimicking all of those elements. I just don't believe that it's a good quality knife made in Russia. It's something low quality. And that's why probably that hype becomes a scam. They advertise, they probably show a better quality knife, which can be built, of course, in Russia. Russia makes very good knives, don't get me wrong. Amazing knives. But this one is not there. And of course, if you start testing this knife, which is out of this maybe fake steel, very very thin one, it will break. It will break so easy, so quick, as we can see, for example, as I said, in Dutch bushcraft knives. Couple months ago they did a video test of this knife, and of course it did fail, and it should fail because again, it's not a full-time knife. Nobody ever tests the steel quality and so on. So that's why it becomes a disappointment. So let's sum up with the knife design and knife kind of information session today. So first of all, is Finka NKVD, is it legend or scam? It is both. There is, of course, the legend behind it. There's a story behind it, or behind this design, behind the usage of that knife. Yes, it is, but in the modern world, it is unfortunately a scam. You can get a good quality Finka, even better than this one, if you look for it in the stores, or if you know exactly that specific maker doesn't fake it, makes it very good, and so on. Or if you just order online through Instagram or for whatever bullshit platform they advertising this one, you can get a knife even worse than this one, maybe with a plastic handle and no steel at all on the blade, and that will be a real scam. So let me know if you have more questions about this, or some other related questions in general about Russian knives. I have a few. I will keep posting reviews about those knives as we go. One more time, thank you for watching. Stay sharp, stay cool, and talk to you soon.